Hey, LS11 Universe, it's Zander, and welcome to a tier list video. We don't do these very often, but, well, first of all, you can see in the background, moving day is getting closer and closer. But welcome to a tier list video. It has been a while since we've done one of these. This is an ARW tier list, so I expect it to tank in views because nobody but me and like 4 other people care about ARW outside of watching the actual premieres. So, what we are ranking today is every matchup for the ARW World Championship in ARW history. So I don't have these in any particular order. I think they're probably put in alphabetical order based on the game or based on the tier maker uploads. Actually, it doesn't even seem that way. But we're just going to kind of go in the order that I remember them. So the very first matchup that we had for the ARW World title was this one, Episode 1, Captain Falcon versus Thanos for the vacated ARW World title to crown the first champion. And so our five tiers are 5 Meltzer stars, Show Stealer, your average match, a hard to remember, and a dud. Dud being the absolute worst. There's not going to be many here. There's probably going to be a couple here. Most of them you'll probably see here, but there are a select few that I would award the 5 Meltzer stars. And Episode 1 is not one of them. I would honestly put Episode 1 as your average match. Nobody knew who was going to win in Episode 1, but I think most people were probably leaning towards Thanos. So, in a way, we kind of did know who was going to win. And so, Thanos became the first ever ARW World Champion. Pretty average match. I've gone back and watched it a couple times, and it's nothing special. My commentary was still rusty. It was the first time I'd commentated anything in years. So, it's a little bit of a rusty match, but it's easy. It's one of those that I think about every time you ask me about ARW. So our very next ARW World Championship matchup will become Termination Chamber 2019, Season 1, between Thanos and Bowser. And nobody thought Bowser was going to win this one. This was just there to hold Thanos over until Zandermania. It was not a dud because it was a fun match. It wasn't a show stealer either, though. There weren't really any show stealers on that show. This is going to go at the very bottom of average match for now. The third time the ARW title would be on the line would be Zandermania 2019, Season 1, between Superman and Thanos. And this one I am going to put at Show Stealer. It was the main event of our first Zandermania. It was a big fight feel. It was the crowning moment for Superman, who is still one of the top 3 ARW World Champions of all time, despite how he's not shown up on the show in a little while. He will be back one day, though, I promise. But yeah, he and Thanos, it was a great story. It was the story I wanted to tell from the minute I started ARW, and so it's the story that we told from the minute I started ARW. I don't know why I say we, it's just me that runs ARW. Hence why Ray isn't on this video. So yeah, Thanos Superman, the best match we've had so far in this ranking, but trust me, the better ones are coming. So the next show would have been Superman versus Sephiroth, and this one I'm also actually going to put at Show Stealer. And there's a reason I put this one at Show Stealer, and I'm just going to go ahead and put it there to tell you why. The reason that match is a Show Stealer is because in that match, it had the most cinematic ending we've ever had to an ARW match thus far, with big bad bosses and the Justice League all brawling around ringside. And one thing I remember was Bowser picking up Batman for Shell Shock, Batman slipping out of it, and then boom, a spear from Superman to Bowser. And then Sephiroth capitalized, One Wing Angel, went for Sin Harvest, got caught with a Superman punch out of the air. 1, 2, 3. Their fight thus up to that point in the match was a little lackluster, and it was just kind of there. But the ending is what most people remember from a world title match at a pay-per-view. So that's what we're going to talk about mainly, is that ending, because that is one of the greatest endings in ARW. But everything leading up to it, as I said, was a little lackluster, so it doesn't quite get the 5 Meltzer stars. But another matchup that came next was the Fight Back matchup, which was originally just going to be Superman versus the Terminator, but we added Captain America into the mix, or I added Captain America into the mix, to add that element of unpredictability, almost the Daniel Bryan red herring style entry with Captain America. A lot of people really wanted Captain America to win, but it wasn't his time just yet. It was Superman's time. It was a pretty good match. I will put it but it wasn't quite 5 Meltzer stars because it was a pretty rushed match. So it's going to go. It's either bottom of show stealer or top of average match. I'm going to put it bottom of show stealer. So the next match would actually be the very next Thursday, season 2. I can't tell what episode that says, but it's called Fair Fight. I should have changed I should have changed them to show the full thumbnails. That's my fault, guys. Anyway, Superman and Captain America, one-on-one for the ARW title. Captain America's Last Chance. That is our first 5 Meltzer star match. You can find it pretty easily. Just search Fair Fight on the LS11 channel, and you'll probably be able to find this episode. It's a great matchup. It was still back in the PS4 days, so the graphics of the episode are not the greatest, as is the mic quality. But this episode has a special place in my heart because this matchup between Captain America and Superman is one of the greater matches in ARW's long history. After that would have been ARW Annihilation, Superman versus Goku. This is our first dud. I don't remember this match. I don't like to remember this match because it immediately led into the next match at Shattered Dimensions of Shaggy versus Goku versus Thanos versus Superman, which is hard to remember. That one at least had a finish. This is the only time in ARW history a pay-per-view has ended in a non-finish, and I felt terrible about it. It ended with the return of Thanos, who laid out both competitors. Felt bad about it, never doing it again. No promises. I felt bad about it at the time, though. Still do feel a little bad about it. But either way, we now have a dud. That is our first and possibly only dud. Because everything else is important to me in a different way. So after this, we'd have moved on to our first ever Bash at the Beach. Our next Bash at the Beach is actually just a month away at this point. And that had the match between Captain Falcon and Superman. Now, this one, here's the thing. The quality of this match was fine. The quality of this would go in your average match. But the finish makes me put it in the very top. And I will tell you why. So if you've never seen this episode of ARW, this was where Captain Falcon turned heel and won the ARW Championship. Captain Falcon had been kind of the underdog babyface of ARW since episode 1. And this was like episode 40-something at this point, I feel like. I don't remember, honestly. But it was a very long time that it had been going for. And in this episode, in the build-up to Bash at the Beach, Captain Falcon kept telling Superman, I'm going to beat you, I'm going to beat you. You know, we both use the same finisher. You call it the Superman punch. I call it the Falcon punch. And he said, you know, I always see you take 3 or 4 to beat your opponents. I promise you, it's only going to take 1 Falcon punch to beat you. Referee goes down. Boom. Low blow. Falcon punch. 1, 2, 3. A shocking heel turn. Not many people thought Falcon was going to win. In fact, pretty much nobody thought Captain Falcon was winning that night. And even less people expected Captain Falcon to turn heel. So that has a very special place. The Falcon Championship run, that's another story from a previous video. I talked about that in the last tier list, which I will probably do an updated one day. But like, Kratos is still ARW champion, and I did that tier list like 2 months ago. So Captain Falcon is now the ARW champion, and that led to his rematch at Revolution Season 2, which they're not on the poster because it was main evented by the 30-minute Iron Woman match between Captain Marvel and Power Girl. That's a match for another day to talk about. But the rematch between Falcon and Superman, it's kind of your average match. It did have the formation of the Deadly Alliance, which was Captain Falcon, Scorpion, Sub-Zero, and Incineroar from Pokemon, before Incineroar would be replaced by Bald Bull down the road. Just a weird team. Just a very weird team. And that's part of the reason I don't talk about it much, because the Deadly Alliance was weird. That's why they just broke up at Zandermania Season 2 in that matchup. It's one of those weird things to think about. I do love watching the segment, though, where big bad bosses confront the Deadly Alliance. That's one of my favorite segments in ARW history. Maybe I'll talk about rivalries one day, like ARW's best rivalries or something. Okay, so now we have ranked Revolution. So notice certain champions defended on TV, others didn't. So the next matchup would have been at Halloween Havoc between Batman and Captain Falcon inside Hell in a Cell. Batman took a beating. He went through the cell. He went off the cell before he was beat. I mean, he's Batman. This one is kind of hard to remember. It's not the most important championship matchup there's ever been. I'm just going to put it in hard to remember, honestly. Because it was very much a throwaway match. Batman was just there to take a fall, so we didn't do Superman versus Falcon 3. Maybe we'll do Falcon Superman 3 one day, but who knows. Anyway, yeah, Falcon, he needed a title defense. Survival Season 1 is not on here, or Season 2 is not on here because there was no Survival Season 2 championship match because Falcon was involved in the main event in a 4-on-4 match, Deadly Alliance versus the Avengers, which leads us into Nemesis, the retired pay-per-view, because I realized there was a significantly better December show slapping me in the face. We'll get there when we get there. And this is where Captain America won the ARW Championship, and his matchup with Captain Falcon has so much around it that it's actually our third 5-Meltzer star match. It was Captain America's crowning moment, one of the 3 best ARW champions of all time. He beat Captain Falcon. Everyone loved it. It happened like the week before Christmas. In fact, it was the week of Christmas because the next ARW episode was the day after Christmas. And it featured the arrival of John Cena, but that's not part of this. Falcon finally lost, and then he sort of turned face, sort of didn't. He kind of went more Hollywood rock with it after that. He shook Captain America's hand, and that was kind of it for their feud. But the matchup itself is so good, especially like both men are bloody by the end of it, and we're actually, funny enough, we'll get there in a minute. This is one of the only times where a Meltzer star 5 Meltzer stars is going to come 2 matches in a row. Because next would have been Captain America versus Little Mac. That might be the greatest match in ARW history. Go watch it. Royal Rumble Season 2. It's a 30-minute match. 2 out of 3 falls for the ARW title. A 30-minute match. It doesn't even end with a finisher because both men were so exhausted by the end of it that it just ended with the next big move. Both men's faces were coated in blood. They were both exhausted. It was so awesome. Still to this day, my favorite ARW match ever. So, blood warning, obviously. But, again, my favorite ARW match of all time. Which then leads into the ARW Termination Chamber Season 2. Holy crap, I still need to update this poster one day. So the fun thing here is there are 2 takes of this match. There are 2 takes of it. And one of them you'll never be able to see because I'll never be able to see it again. The SD card that was on shattered, and so I had to re-record the entire build-up to that show and that show. So if it were the first take of that, it would go in hard to remember. Because I went full Super Cena on everyone in it. So you can't really see the full poster, but the 6 men fighting over the ARW were Champion Captain America, God of War Kratos, Superman, John Cena, Sephiroth, and me. Sephiroth and I were in a feud. John Cena, Kratos, and Superman made sense to be there. And then Captain America was the champion. And in the 5 weeks leading up to this show, Captain America fought every one of his challengers. It's a new thing we started doing. I really enjoy it. The Trials of the Champion. It's going to alternate each year which champion it is as the trials. His first trial was me. He won. His second one was Sephiroth. He won. His next one was Kratos. Kratos got the unexpected win. His next one was Superman. Superman got the expected win. His final one was Cena. Cena got a distraction win. This matchup, I don't remember it all too well, which I think it might go in hard to remember. But if it were just the first go-around, it would be a dud because I eliminated Cena, Sephiroth, and Superman, and Captain America eliminated me and Kratos. So Captain America, I remember it came down to him and Kratos, which is very much foreshadowing for later in the year. But I don't remember much else from this match. I don't remember it being all that important to ARW. But that does lead to Zandermania Season 2, which I didn't grab the poster of. Crap. No, it's right there. Never mind. Captain America versus the Terminator. A lot of people wanted Cap to win. But I think a lot of people knew Arnold was going to win. They've had 3 matches in ARW. They did Annihilation Season 2, they did Zandermania Season 2, and then they did Revolution Season 3. Zandermania was their worst of the 3, It was the least memorable, but it was a Zandermania main event. It was an important match, but it was pretty average nonetheless. A little sad that Zandermanias have not taken the 5 Meltzer Stars matches, but you know. Anyway, so Arnie is champion at this point, and his first title defense is against son of a bitch. That's me. Granted, this is one of my favorite ARW matches I've ever had, but here you go. His next match was with The Witcher, though, and that one was a show stealer. That one was a bloody show stealer. So many people thought Geralt was actually going to win. So Arnold, back in the day, used to use the Burning Hammer, for those that don't know, and nobody ever kicked out of more than one Burning Hammer. It always took at least one. It was only one, but if he hit a second one, you were for sure done. And still to this day, I remember that moment, because it wasn't supposed to happen. But what happened was, Geralt was using the Igni Cutter still. He still uses it now. Arnold hits the first Burning Hammer. 1, 2. Geralt kicks out. Geralt hits back like 3 Igni Cutters. Arnold kicks out. Arnold scoops him up for the second Burning Hammer. I'm like, oh, this is it. It's over. It's over. 1, 2. Shoulder up. The only person to kick out of 2 Burning Hammers in one match was Geralt, which is why it's a show stealer, because so many people at that moment were like, oh my God, he's winning. Oh my God, it's over. And the reign of Arnold would be over very soon. 5 nights later, Season 3, can't tell what episode, ladder match qualifying. Sephiroth had beaten me in a last man standing match. He challenged Arnold for the ARW title, and he won because I accidentally hit Arnold in the face with a chair. This match is very important to the history of ARW for obvious reasons. It was the only time the world title changed on a Thursday episode so far. Again, so far, you never know. It's one of the few title changes on a Thursday episode. In fact, I think there's only been 2 title changes on a Thursday episode that is not the hardcore title. Hardcore title doesn't... 3. There's been 3. The hardcore title doesn't count, because that changes every other fucking minute. But if you look at it, the only times main championships have changed on a Thursday show, Waluigi won the Interdimensional title back from Terry Crews. Terry Crews won it from Waluigi the previous week. Legacy of the Creed won the women's tag titles off of Wonder Marvel. And this. That is it. That's the only 4 times a regular championship has changed hands on a regular show. Like, the tag titles have never changed hands on the regular shows, and the women's title have never changed hands on a regular show. The tag titles did change hands on the Zandermania after party, but that's not a regular Thursday episode. That's the night after Zandermania, or the day after Zandermania in some cases. But Arnie and Sephiroth was very important to the ARW Championship history, but it was a pretty average match with a pretty average finish. It was still better than me versus Arnold. Actually, no, it wasn't. I think my match with Arnold was more fun because more people were thinking, oh God, Zander's going to Triple H himself. No, that would come later. Reality Check, our first ever Reality Check was next, though. And that was Sephiroth versus Arnold, 1-on-1 for the ARW World title. I needed to hurry this up because I got to leave for work in 18 minutes. I want to go get breakfast before work. Arnold and Sephiroth, one of Arnold's only clean losses. This is actually a really fun match. It was the world title match. It was on top of Avengers Tower, which is so fun. Like, that's half the reason we're sticking with... So ARW is going to stay on 2K19 pretty much for the foreseeable future. Weirdly, if anything, ARW would move to 2K20 just because of all the fantasy arenas and stuff, if I get it on PS4 or something. But anyway, Arnold and Sephiroth at Reality Check. I'm going to give it Show Stealer. It's going to be the bottom of Show Stealer. Which then leads to Annihilation Season 3. And this one actually fills 2 slots. There were 2 championship matches on this show, but I couldn't really find a way to fit both of them into different thumbnails. I could have downloaded the Annihilation logo twice, I guess, but whatever. And that was me versus Sephiroth. This is my favorite ARW match I ever got to have. Genuinely it is. I did enjoy getting my ass kicked by Tifa Lockhart. That was very fun for me to watch and to see you guys react to, because that was a lot of fun. Getting fired by Nick Fury or Sam Jackson, getting called a mother effer, all that. But this one holds a special place in my heart because this was episode 100 on my birthday, and I won the championship. So we're kind of going to rank this one based on both matches. I'd honestly put it in show stealer. I'm going to put it bottom of show stealer. Me versus Giovanni, well, that's a dud. It was a 5-minute, 26-second. It wasn't even a 5-minute, 26-second match. It was like a 4.5-minute match. Really, it should have been like 30 seconds. Either way, that does lead into Bash at the Beach. This one I'm giving 5 Meltzer stars. The Big Bad Boss's Fatal 5-Way. It had been building for a year. Sephiroth, Eggman, Ganondorf, Bowser, Giovanni. Fatal 5-Way elimination for the ARW title. Had the debut of Jesse and James in the end. Ganondorf got a star-making performance. Granted, it didn't go anywhere. The only match I've ever done that was full highlight reel the whole match. It was so fun to do. I just took like an hour out of a random weekday when I wasn't working and recorded this, and I had so much fun with it, and so many people enjoyed it as well. It was a very fun match to watch, and it set up the future of ARW, which then does lead, and we're getting very close here. We're down to 1 row of matches left. Revolution Season 3. I'm going to put Cap and Giovanni right in the middle of show stealer. Captain America became the first ever 2-time ARW World Champion on this show. Ended the Reign of Terror, as people called it, which only lasted 2 months, but Giovanni was arguably the worst champion ever. Present company excluded. So the Avengers versus Team Rocket was such a fun story. This all culminated with Cap winning the title. They had a rematch a couple nights later. I mean, Cap squashed him, so it's just going to be top of hard to remember. Quite honestly, it was pretty obvious where it was going. It was hard to remember. Which this then leads into Halloween Havoc. Cap fought Sephiroth on this show, I think. I'm noticing a trend here. And I booked this year's Halloween Havoc, so it will also be joining these guys in Hard to Remember next year when I do another one of these. So after this leads into Survival. This is one of my favorite moments in ARW history, and it was so recent as well. It's kind of crazy. It's nearly been a year, but it still feels so recent. It feels so recent. Kratos versus Captain America. Kratos' rise to the top was my favorite story of Season 3. And that even counts this story right here. This counts my story. Kratos' rise to the top was so organic. People were really behind it. There were people who wanted Cap to win, but I think a lot of people knew that Cap's time was up and it was time for someone new to take the head of ARW. And let's remember, every match you see here, Kratos is still champion. He is the longest reigning ARW champion ever. Now, Kratos, let's see. How many days has it been? How many days since November 15th, 2020? He has been champion for 242 days. He doesn't defend that title for another 9. He defends it the day before my birthday. So at Annihilation on the 24th, be sure to tell me happy birthday so you can feed my ego. Please and thanks. And if you really wanted to give me a birthday gift, hey, pledge to Patreon. I'm kidding. You don't have to, but it would be appreciated. You don't have to, though. Anyway, Kratos and Captain America, that was a show stealer right there. Because there were so many moments where it was like, oh my God, Cap's going to do it. Cap's going to do it. Cap's going to do it. And then finally, Leviathan knee. 1, 2, 3. Let the reign begin. Unfortunately, his first match, I'm not going to put it as a dud. I'm just going to put it as forgettable. Kratos and Thor literally happened so that I could say Kratos had to overcome his former tag partner. Christmas Chaos overall was a very forgettable show. I probably could have done 0 shows, like pay-per-view shows between Survival and Royal Rumble, and people would have been fine. There could have been no Christmas Chaos. Literally, Christmas Chaos was just a bumper show. Granted, Christmas Chaos Season 4 is booked. I booked it last night. I've actually just been booking ARW this week to kill some time. But Christmas Chaos Season 4 is very important to ARW history, and you'll understand why on December 18th. Literally, it's the week before Christmas. I could have been a dick and put it on Christmas if I wanted 0 views. But anyway, that leads into Royal Rumble. Kratos versus the Symbiote Spider-Man. This was kind of your average match. It's kind of your average match, you know. Nothing too fancy happened in it. Nothing all that important. Like, some people wanted Spidey to win, but I think a lot of people knew Spidey wasn't going to win as a heel. And hey, Spider-Man's actually getting another. Hey, we could be seeing Spider-Man versus Kratos again pretty soon. If Kratos retains against Miles Morales at Annihilation, and Spidey beats Mike Tyson in their #1 contenders match, then we're going to be doing Spider-Man versus Kratos round 2 at Bash at the Beach season 4. But hey, you never know. It could be Miles versus Spider-Man. It could be Miles versus Mike. It could be Mike versus Kratos. It could be Spider-Man versus Kratos, for all you know. That does lead to the Termination Chamber, and this one is a little weird to talk about. Termination Chamber Season 3 is a little weird to talk about because the show is going to go down in infamy for being the show that buffered. But the main event was a really good match. Like, Cap, Kratos, Falcon, Little Mac, Arnold, and who's the last one? I have to pull up the poster again. It's been a while. Bane, that's right. That's right, because Bane was getting a big push at that time. And it came down to Little Mac and Kratos. And that was one of Little Mac's big star-making performances. I built it up because at Nemesis, they had their another match together, and Kratos lost to Little Mac that night. Little Mac's like one of 4 people to have ever pinned Kratos. Kratos has been pinned like 4 times ever in ARW. Geralt got him at... Geralt's the only person to do it twice. Geralt got him at Redemption, and he got him on the build-up to Zandermania. Spider-Man rolled him up recently, which was the first time he'd been pinned in over a year. Cat pinned him inside the Termination Chamber, and Little Mac pinned him at Nemesis. Kratos has been pinned 5 times in 3 years. Kind of crazy, if you ask me. But this matchup, I can't rank it any higher than an average match, unfortunately, because of the buffering. Zandermania Season 3. 5 Meltzer stars. One of the best matches in ARW history, if you ask me. It became a finisher fest at the end, but it's the biggest crowd ARW's ever had. Everyone was hyped for this match. Finisher, 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 finisher. It was a Goldberg-Brock Lesnar match, essentially. But that's kind of what it was meant to be. This was kind of meant to feel like the monsters of ARW finally colliding one more time. And Kratos won. The first time a world title's been retained at Zandermania. That leads us into Redemption. Kratos versus Thanos. A very interesting feud to come out of Zandermania with. I'm not going to say it's hard to remember, because it's not. It's not hard to remember. It's not a show stealer. I feel like it could be either show stealer or average match, though. Because I don't think... The thing is that makes me kind of want to put it like average match, which I think is where it's going to live. Average match, I say, because nobody expected Thanos to win. Everyone's like, yeah, this is just a walk in the park. This is just so Kratos can defend the title. Yeah, kind of. All right. Final 2. Has it only been 4 weeks since Reality Check? Did I miss one? No, it's been a 7-week build. That's right. It's been a long build between Reality Check and now. That's right. Like, let me double check, but I'm pretty sure it's just been a very, very, very long build. But give me just a second to double check. Make sure I didn't accidentally miss one. Yeah, no. Oh, wait, it was Reality Check, then Fight Back. That's right. Sorry, I had those flip-flopped. Fight Back was only... When was Fight Back? Fight Back was episode 16. So Fight Back was 5 weeks ago. That wasn't that long ago. So Reality Check is next. Kratos versus Link. A very important match to ARW. It's one of those times where it seemed like Kratos could actually lose the belt. Reality Check, by the way, has my favorite poster in ARW history. I hand drew everything except the background. The background was just straight up ripped from the movie. Reality Check's match, I'm going to argue it was a show stealer. It's going to go right in the middle of show stealer. And then finally, you want to talk about the unstoppable force meeting the immovable object. Well, it's right here. This is probably the most in danger Kratos' world title reign has ever looked. And I wouldn't give it 5 Meltzer stars, though. I think this is going to go top of Show Stealer. And so there you go. There is the ARW World Championship matchup tier list. Thank you all for watching. I'm going to go buy myself some breakfast now. I spent just half an hour talking, so I need to go take something to clear my sinuses after that. I've been Zander. That was the tier list. And a very special thank you to the LS11 Universe Patreons. You can become a Patreon following the link in the description. $1, $5, $10 amount. You get access to everything on there. You get some extra bonuses at $5, like getting your name in these credits here. You get a personalized shout-out video sent to you by me for the $10 tier. You get exclusive videos, all sorts of stuff. With that said, I've been Zander, and that was a tier list.